Going to do a little brief bio. I've been in supercomputers for about 33 years, and my first supercomputer was a Cray 1, so that's dating a while back. Been doing mostly I/O and storage-related items for those 33 years. So brief history of RAID is sort of like a brief history of time from Stephen Hawking. RAID's been around for a long time. Even the acronym RAID, anybody here remember what the original acronym stood for? Probably not. Sorry? Inexpensive, correct. Give the man a cigar. Yeah, RAID's been around since the 1970s in sync spindle disk from IBM, so it's not new. 1989 was the slide here says witness. Somebody fixed that for me. I only witnessed it in the sense that I watched my own fingers type the code into the keyboard. So I actually created the first RAID 5 in software using the Berkeley RAID paper, which NASA funded, and I was happy to be working at NASA and funded their work. We've had many variations of RAID over the years. We've switched from software to hardware RAID and back again a few times. Whoops. Something happened. Don't understand the keyboard here, apparently. Can we stop this?
Jane, stop this crazy thing.
Yes, I need to get off this. I want to control it.
I'd like that too. Tag, you're it.
All right, back to the presentation. So what are the advantages of software RAID, and why is the industry moving back to software RAID? Software RAID is, generally speaking, lower cost because you're only paying for the HBAs. You've already paid for the CPU that you're using. Multi-core CPUs are now common, and they're common on servers as well as clients. So doing RAID operations is chewing up a few cores, but you have plenty of them to spend. You can preserve your hardware investment while radically changing the RAID technology that you're using. So as you move from, say, RAID 6 to parity declustered RAID or some other RAID algorithm, you can do that on the same hardware platform. You can also combine RAID operations with other storage features that you might be interested, like encryption or certain caching algorithms or deduplication. Software RAID's been around since the introduction of RAID Frame back at Carnegie Mellon. It was a useful RAID research tool. Wasn't very popular, was only available in FreeBSD and NetBSD. Somebody's going to correct me and tell me there's a Linux version of it. MD RAID followed in the early 2000s, has been maturing over the last 12 years. And of course, there's our favorite file system, ZFS. There's also Beyond RAID and a few other examples, I'm sure. So what are the advantages of doing hardware RAID? Well, hardware RAID has the advantage of having a dedicated piece of hardware that's isolated. And that's kind of important if your OS has the propensity to corrupt things. Hardware RAID has the advantage of having an onboard battery backup, usually, small bit of NVRAM, and some of those small bits can be quite large. And at the release time of the hardware RAID, it matches the best that software RAID can do. However, hardware RAID doesn't mature over the life of the product. It stays the way it is, and updating it with vendor releases of new firmware revisions can be lengthy, so you're often lagging behind it. You can buy some hardware RAIDs that do things like synchronous cache updates between two hardware RAID vendors. I know LSI has a product like that. I'm sure there will be more. and it's often easier to configure. So if your RAID system is of that much importance to you that you spend a lot of time with it, you know, having a web-based GUI or something is often a useful tool to have. So in comparing the two, I would say that, you know, software RAID has this advantage of flexibility. You also can take advantage of new generations of CPUs, and you can often integrate it with other parts of your storage hierarchy, and that really means like dedupe or encryption. Can easily be updated. The hardware RAID is vendor supported, so you remove some of the questions that you might have about Linux versions that are coming out. And typically, hardware RAID is more expensive because you're paying for a combined controller and RAID functionality, whereas with software RAID, you're just paying for the controller. So there are many features in RAID technology that are coming about. Many of these are present in current versions of various vendors. There's parity declustered RAID. That's RAID sets that move across a large number of drives. Erasure codes, which is basically, anybody know what erasure codes are? Great. Do you know that RAID 2 is an erasure code? Right. Everybody knows that forward error correction and erasure codes are the same thing. So it's just reinvented with a new label. Now it's a great marketing term. There's going to be network striping, in other words, RAID done over a local area network. There has been triplication. It's been around for quite a while. A lot of people are looking now at shingle drives and what that means as far as the flash integration, because with a shingle drive, when you rewrite any sector on that drive, you have to rewrite many megabytes of data. And we're going to shingle drives eventually because of the bit areal density of the drive and the speed. That also implies log structured disks, because one of the things that you can get with triplication is you write the flash in a log structure, and then once you get a few megabytes of data, you copy it to your shingle drive. So these things are all going to be coming down the pike. Some of them are here now. PD RAID and erasure codes are here now. Triplication's been around for a while. Shingle drives are coming. All of these features mean that software RAID will have to be more adaptable. Well, RAID in general will have to be more adaptable. Software RAID can adapt it faster, in my opinion. So I'm going to wrap this up quick. In my opinion, the key is adaptability, and software RAID is more adaptable than hardware RAID. So any questions? Extra points for anybody who knows which vendor made an actual RAID 2 and sold it. Anyone?
Bueller?
Yeah.
Bueller?
Nope.
Sorry.
There was one vendor. All right.
Care to disclose?
A connection machine. The Data Vault was an actual RAID 2. Yeah.
Right on.
Thinking Machines Incorporated.
Alan Poston, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.